It's a good idea to draw a few guidelines before you start putting the flutes in. I put a sort of halfway line here that sort of divides the fish up, or the body of the fish up symmetrically. And what I've got here is a sort of bullet shape where the body of the fish tapers into the tail. So this comes along here and round there, along here and round here. So these are quite long. Now with the actual flutes, the actual little grooves that are going to go in here, when they reach this point, they're narrower than right over here. So this will splay like this. They can't be parallel. Okay, so draw yourself a few lines. The pencil lines are really only just to get you going. It's going to be the actual carving lines that really matter. So we'll take a medium gouge, because we're not going to make these too deep, and we're going to start just running a flute like this down towards the end. Now this is great because I'm able to go downhill on this side. I'm going to come off the end like this. So that would be something like my first pass on this one. From nothing here into a flute proper. And I put the second one here. Now two things are going to happen, one of which might be that this edge here, this top edge, is now against the grain and it tears up. Because we're going downhill, it isn't, but if it was, then what I have to do is reverse the gouge so it comes uphill on this side. So as I come down, what I'm paying attention to here really is this ridge in between. This we're going to get very smooth. So it's this line here, and it's going to come along here, splaying out a little bit, and again come to the end, and we'll just let that run off the tail here. So get that about right. Then the next one, the next flute, this one is coming further back along the body. Now it's starting to tear. I don't know if you can see that. So I do a little bit here tentatively, but this one is actually coming off the edge of the fin here, so it's actually rolling over here. It doesn't come to the very end. So come back this way and tidy up that line, and then the next one will be here. What we're doing is we're getting the impression of the body of the fish, this line, just by the ends of these flutes. So I'm going to work them all over, right round here, all the way back over to here. First, just as a first pass, and then I'm going to go and clean them up. So here's the next one coming in here. The thing to notice also is that these lines here curve down here, and the ones that top here are curving with that same sort of arch coming over here. So they sort of get a little bit flatter, but then they're still curving around the top here. I've been over them and got them pretty much where I want them. What I'm going to do now is put a small rasp with a half round face down them like this to clean them up. And again, what I'm really paying attention to is this line here. So tuning that line between the flutes. Now if you don't have a rasp, or even after the rasp, you can find something that's circular that matches your gouge more or less. Then you can wrap that in a bit of sandpaper, like so. And use this as a sort of rasp. What we're doing now then is to clean up all these flutes. Make sure they're all nice and smooth down the bottom to the same finish as this, and that the lines are nice and true. With the flutes, come right off the edge like this, right off the end here. Here's the first side finished. What I've done is come to the end here and marked with a pencil where the ridges pass to the other side. And then I'm going to match those ridges on this side here. So each of those lines now comes on the ridge of the flute on the other side. So what I need to do as I go along now is check with my fingers that I don't go too deep and I go through. So what we're going to end up with at the end is a sort of little pinch look as the flutes come to the end. I've drawn this pretty much as close as I could to what I've got on the other side, and I've got the same number of flutes curving in the same sort of way. So once I've locked this down, I can start carving exactly as before. So these flutes come right to the end, just as before, and paying attention to this line in between. The problem I have here is because this is a concave surface, I'm going to meet the grain coming down this way. So what I really want is a bent tool, some sort of short bent tool. If you don't have it, then you're going to have to just work as best you can, coming out lightly, like so, and rocking the tool, actually turning the tool here, going backwards and forth, and do the best you can on this face here. Then we're going to tidy these up with something like a riffler or some sort of curved form with the sandpaper, and we can make that come out. So if you don't have a bent tool, you can sort of just marry that in, because at the moment we're going smooth, so it doesn't we don't need to leave the tool cuts. I've made the ends a little bit deeper because I don't want too thick an edge here. So make sure those are nice and thin there. And you could adjust it on the other side if you want to, so make sure you've got fairly thin ends. Then to finish off these grooves, these flutes, you could use a riffler, like so. A smaller riffler, this is a smaller one, this sort of curved shape. If you don't have rifflers, you can go straight onto, say, a coarse sandpaper. This is a 80 grit. This time I've chosen an object. This is just obviously just a pen, a Sharpie, but I've got a rounded end, so it's not hard end like this one, but it's rounded here. And then I'm going to wrap my sandpaper, and I'm going to make sure that this sandpaper is nicely rolled and doesn't have any hard creasing edges in it. So roll it round there, and then with it sticking out just a little bit here, I've got myself a sort of type of rasp, type of riffler. So I can use a simple former like that. So I'm going to work my way as before, clean these up, paying attention to the ridges, make sure they flow down, and I'm going to work through my grits right up to 240 so that this is the same as this surface here. So I've finished both sides now, and what I've done is I've allowed the edges to meet here, and that's give this little concave effect here, which I think is rather nice. Don't make these too sharp. Make sure you can sand them over. They don't really want to be too hard. And with that, we're ready to move on. Well, the body itself is finished, and we're ready to move on to the fins.